The early years of a child are crucial as they shape their personality based on how they are raised. Factors such as how much love or neglect they experienced in childhood, or how much stress they were exposed to, determine their future actions. Could these factors turn an 11-year-old child into someone so ruthless that they would harm anyone around them just to achieve their goals? This story made me view children differently forever. Mary Flora Bell was born on May 26, 1957, in North England. Her mother, Elizabeth Waite, nicknamed Betty, was a prostitute who often traveled and left Mary with strangers at home. The situation was so dire that once, Betty left Mary with an unknown man in their own home. Betty had another son, whom she also neglected. It is said that when Betty gave birth to Mary, she told the doctor, "Take this thing away from me." Betty was only 17 at the time, and such words from a mother are shocking. This behavior continued into the future, as Betty often neglected her children. During her travels, she met a criminal and alcoholic named William Bell, whom she married a year after Mary's birth. It is often said that broken people seek out other broken people to fix each other. Betty was a broken person, and her choice of partner reflected that. Mary grew up as an unwanted and neglected child. When Mary was with her mother, she would often get hurt or fall while playing, but Betty never paid attention or provided care, leading Mary to believe that her mother intentionally harmed her. Mary's aunt also revealed that when Mary was just 3 years old, in 1960, Betty, in a fit of anger, threw Mary out of a first-floor window. Miraculously, Mary survived but suffered severe injuries, including a head injury. On another occasion, Betty gave Mary sleeping pills at a very young age, hoping she would never wake up. It is also said that Betty once tried to sell Mary to a mentally unstable woman who couldn't have children. Betty needed money at the time and had no concern for her daughter. She handed Mary over to the woman at a train station and left. When Mary's older sister, Catherine, found out, she traveled to the woman's house, explained the situation, and brought Mary back home. It is also alleged that when Mary was just 5 years old, Betty allowed some of her clients to sexually abuse Mary for money. This level of cruelty from a mother toward her own child is unimaginable and undoubtedly affected Mary's mental state. Mary's mental instability began to show early, both at home and at school. Her behavior was unpredictable. She had frequent mood swings and wet her bed until she was 9 years old. At school, she often bullied other children, and at a very young age, attempted to strangle them during class or playtime. This behavior alienated her from other children, and she had no friends except for one girl named Norma Joyce Bell, who lived nearby. Norma was Mary's only companion, and they became close friends. However, as Mary grew older, her mood swings and actions became more extreme. On October 11, 1968, a 3-year-old boy was found covered in blood and struggling near Margaret Road. A man noticed him and rushed him to the hospital. When the boy recovered, he told the police that he had been playing with Mary and Norma on a building's rooftop when Mary suddenly pushed him off, causing his injuries. He also mentioned that Mary and Norma had tried to strangle him before pushing him. When questioned by the police, both Mary and Norma denied knowing the boy or being involved in the incident. However, the boy's statement and the evidence led the police to believe that Mary was responsible. This was the first public display of Mary's violent nature, but if the police had taken action then, perhaps future tragedies could have been avoided. On May 25, 1968, a 4-year-old boy named Martin Brown was found dead in an abandoned house on Margaret Road. The area was filled with Victorian-era houses being demolished, and children often played in the ruins. Martin's body was discovered by 3 children who alerted the locals, and an ambulance was called. By the time the ambulance arrived, it was too late. Martin was dead. The nurse noticed a bottle of aspirin near his body, but later reports revealed that Martin had not ingested any medication and had died from natural causes. However, when the nurse was performing CPR, two girls, 10-year-old Mary Bell and 13-year-old Norma Bell, entered the building. The nurse assumed they were just children playing and shooed them away. Later, Mary and Norma went to Martin's aunt's house and told her, "One of your sister's parents just had an accident. We think it's Martin, but we can't tell because he's just a child." Mary later admitted to killing Martin. On July 31st, 1968, 3-year-old Brian Howe was playing with his siblings in their backyard when Mary and Norma joined them. Brian's parents didn't think much of it, as children often played together. However, when Brian didn't return home by evening, his family grew worried and organized a search party. Brian's body was found later that night in a nearby playground, hidden between two large concrete blocks covered with grass. The police determined that Brian had been strangled, and the killer had tried to conceal the body. Brian's face had bruises, scratches, and an M carved into his stomach. Forensic evidence suggested that the killer was a child, as the force used was not that of an adult. Fibers found on Brian's clothes matched those of Mary and Norma's clothing. The investigation into Brian's death involved over 100 investigators, and 1,200 children were questioned. Both Mary and Norma were among those questioned, and other children reported seeing them playing with Brian that day. During the investigation, Norma was more talkative, while Mary remained quiet and observant. Eventually, both admitted to knowing Brian and playing with him that day. Mary made a critical mistake by claiming they had tried to cut a cat, which matched the injuries on Brian's body. This led the police to conclude that Mary was the killer. Mary and Norma were arrested and charged with Brian's murder. Norma's parents later came forward, stating that Norma had known about Brian's death and wanted to confess. Norma revealed that Mary had demonstrated how she strangled Brian and carved the M into his stomach. When confronted, Mary initially denied the accusations, but eventually admitted to killing Brian. Forensic evidence confirmed that the fibers found on Brian's body matched Mary and Norma's clothes. On August 7th, 1968, Brian Howe's body was being taken to the cemetery when Mary was seen laughing and clapping at the sight of his coffin. Mary and Norma were charged with Brian's murder, but Norma was later acquitted of all charges. Mary, however, was found guilty and sentenced for the murders of both boys. Norma, who had no direct involvement in the killings, was released. Mary's childhood, marked by neglect and abuse, shaped her into a cold and ruthless individual. Her environment hardened her to the point where, at a very young age, she made terrible choices and became a killer. Mary Bell was sentenced for the murders, while Norma was cleared of all charges. This case serves as a stark reminder of how a child's upbringing can profoundly impact their future actions. So, this was today's true crime case. Do you think justice was really served in this case? Or is the story still unfinished? Don't forget to share your opinion in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next crime story. Till then, stay safe and stay curious. Thanks for watching.